In this episode, good learners, we're going to be looking at excerpt number 8. That is in accordance to our order of process from the first, the second, the third, the fourth, all the way up to this one, which is number 8. And this is even as we're preparing for our end year exams, especially for the November students who are planning to sit for this course set book, that is the set text. And of course, even as you're marking the final touches. So without that much further ado, let's dive into it. And before we dive into it, in case you're coming across this work, it is your first time, you bumped across it accidentally, or a good friend of yours did refer you to this work or recommended this work to you, how about a thumbs up, give it a like, a subscription, subscribe, and of course share it with your good friends, especially for those ones that you know this work would be of value. Welcome. An exam prompt will prompt you to do the following. Read the following excerpt and answer the questions that follow. Although Rishian had a lot to complain and grumble about in life in their new environment, Tayo found it tolerable. For instance, she gladly discovered that morning in their new home began with a lively chatter of birds in the trees surrounding the house. That gave the home an atmosphere of tranquility and peace. However, one of the unpleasant aspects that the girls had to live with was the constant violation of their privacy. In Nacilla, they soon discovered that the home belonged to all the clan members. It was not an unusual thing to get up in the morning to find the living room full of men and women who came early, not for any tangible business, but simply to share a sumptuous breakfast with their kith and kin. Tayo and Rishan were soon to get used to hearing an urgent knock at the door, very early in the morning. On opening, they would invariably be met by a grinning group of men and women who would ashamedly ask them what they were doing in bed that late in the morning. They would proceed to take seats in the living room and order them to serve them breakfast. When they got used to what at first they considered negative aspects of Nacilla culture, Tayo and Rachel adjusted accordingly, and soon they began to live harmoniously with the people. Their father was out of the homestead, most of the time working at the shop and organizing other business matters. His absence meant the absence of his accent or irksome and corrosive remarks that always heightened tension in the house. In his absence, the house was continuous joy with comfort and conveniences, and the girls found it pleasurable to keep it clean and, of course, well arranged. End of that particular excerpt, and this one is going to be very short, good learners, and make good use of this work. Questions: what happens immediately after this extract? And that is not supposed to be 5 marks out there, because what happens immediately after this is just placing the excerpt in its immediate context. Usually they range between 3 to 4 marks. The girls went ahead to mix with the women folk of the village. Many of the women folk had come to scout for spouses for their sons and husbands. Question 2, B right there. That's supposed to be B. Where had the family been living before and why did they move? Where had the family been living before and why did they move? 3 good marks right there. They had been living in Nakuru, however, they had to move to Nacilla after their father was retrenched. C, part C. Give the character traits of the following. And good learners, this one you're supposed to extract the character traits from the excerpt that you've read. What others say about the characters from the excerpt within the setting, not out of the setting. Now, Tayo laid back, did not complain all the time like Rishian. Appreciative, liked the new environment, especially the pleasant morning with the chattering birds. The people of Nacilla. The people of Nacilla are social. They came to visit even at odd hours. They are conservative. They follow the culture of the people that dictated unlimited hospitality. They are friendly. They are called on to the new arrivals regardless of the implied motives. Discuss a theme implied in the extract. Discuss a theme, that's one, implied in the extract. Culture. Culture is a theme that is implied in this extract here. People were firmly rooted in their culture. There were some aspects that were not very pleasant, but they stuck to. Also, they believed in sharing and visiting each other. They believed in sharing and visiting each other. Part E. Using the rest of the book, that is from elsewhere in the novel, cite and explain one cultural aspect that had a life-changing effect on the lives of the two girls. Hospitality. The people believed in sharing what one had. That is why they found nothing wrong with visiting Tayo and her family. That had a great impact on the lives of the two girls. And Part F. Explain a stylistic device used in the extract. There's a language use or a language feature that we refer to as a style of language used in the extract rather, and has to be within the context. You don't have to wander out of the context, but it has to be within the setting of this extract here. The cultural activity is female genital mutilation. The two girls were looked down upon because they were uncircumcised. There were even vagabonds who tried to rape them because they imagined that society would not mind. Tayo was later circumcised and ended up sick and had to be rescued by Minik. Okay, there is a description right there. There's also a description as a style. The extract has a description of the early morning chatter. It also has a description of early morning calls by all sorts of people. And also we've got cultural activity up there. And G, Tayo and Ration adjusted accordingly, and add a question tag. Tayo and Ration adjusted accordingly. Tayo and Ration adjusted accordingly, didn't they? Now, okay, good learners, back again to part F up there. I feel like there is something not really clear as part of the stylistic device that we have there. Because we have dialogue, we can say that we had dialogue in that particular case. That's a stylistic device there. And there is because there's dialogue and also there's description. Those are two main aspects or use of stylistic device that show up in this particular extract. And of course, that marks the end of this particular episode again. And find it useful. And I repeat and I echo this: find it useful, even as you're preparing to sit for your end of year exams, that is for the candidates. And for those ones who are now transitioning, they are at the interface into other new text set anthologies or set novels. Stay put, because there's a whole lot in store for you guys, even as we are just trying to maybe let these now cohort to go successfully. Cheers for now.